close your eyes for 1 second, just one. Imagine a world before banks, before screens, before cards, before numbers moved through invisible systems. Imagine a quiet stone room lit by one small flame, a table, a scroll, a tired but focused man reading words he has read for years, maybe decades, with the kind of attention people rarely give anything now. Beside him sit 3 small coins. Nothing flashy, nothing rare, but tonight they matter. Not because of what they can buy, but because of what they represent. This is where most people click away, and that would be a mistake, because what you are about to hear is not loud, not trendy, and not built for people chasing quick noise. It is built for people who are tired, people who've tried, people who feel like something in life should be opening by now, but it still has not. So stay with me. Do not skip this part, because by the time this is over, you will not just hear a ritual. You will feel why so many people hold on to small acts like this when the world around them starts to shake. And tonight, before you sleep, you may decide to try it for yourself. Not as a game, not as fantasy, but as one clear act filled with focus, hope, and intention. And if something inside you already feels pulled toward this, then listen closely, because that pull matters more than you think. You are here for a reason, and I want to begin there. In this way of thinking, life is not random the way most people assume. The moment you are in, the things you keep running into, the strange timing of what finds you when you are tired, when you are searching, when you are almost ready to give up, all of it carries weight. Maybe not the kind your mind can explain in neat little lines, but the kind your spirit feels before logic catches up. If that sounds dramatic, stay with me anyway, because there is something very real about the burden people carry when money feels blocked. You wake up already tense. Before your feet even touch the floor, the pressure is there. Bills, delays, promises you made to yourself, quiet embarrassment, the way you smile in front of others and act like everything is under control when your mind is doing math in the background the whole time. You are working, you are trying, you are not lazy. That is what makes it hurt more. You see other people move through life like doors just open for them, while you push and pray and plan and still feel stuck in the same place. And after enough time, the question starts to rise in private. Why not me? Why does it feel like abundance finds everyone else faster? Why does it feel like something is blocked? Listen carefully now. In this teaching, the issue is not always effort. It is not always talent. It is not always worth. Sometimes the issue is the channel, the flow, the inner position from which a person receives. And that is where this small nighttime act begins. The number 3 matters here in a very deep way, not as a lucky number, not as a decoration, as a pattern, a signal, a structure. In this old spiritual view, numbers are not only for counting things. They carry meaning. They suggest movement. They point to order behind what looks random. 3 is often seen as the number that takes something from idea into form, thought, word, action, beginning, middle, completion, past, present, future. There is something stable and complete about 3 that people have felt for centuries, and that is why this ritual does not ask for 1 coin or 2. It asks for 3 small physical reminders that what is invisible can still touch what is visible. 3 simple objects that take a desire out of your racing thoughts and place it into your hands. That matters more than you think, because fear stays powerful when it remains fog. But the moment you hold something and attach intention to it, the feeling changes. It becomes grounded. It becomes directed. And this tradition never teaches belief without action. That is important. It does not say, sit still and wait for money to fall from the sky. It says, move with purpose, speak with purpose, place something real in your hand, and let the body join the prayer. That is why this practice has lasted in people's lives. It is not only emotional, it is physical. It gives anxiety somewhere to go. It takes spiritual hope and gives it shape. And when hope gets shape, it stops feeling so fragile. Stay with me, because the next part is where this becomes personal. Coins are small, but in this teaching, they are not empty objects. They stand for provision, for livelihood, for the basic flow of material support that keeps a life steady. Food, shelter, relief, breathing room. The things people talk about as money, but feel as safety. That is why the act is not about luxury. It is about alignment with supply itself. These coins do not need to be expensive. They do not need to impress anyone. They just need to be real. Something you can hold. Something with weight, because weight changes people. When worry lives only in the mind, it spins. When intention enters the hands, it settles. Now add the night to that. The night has its own power. Think about what happens right before sleep. That final stretch when the house gets quieter and your thoughts get louder. That doorway between the world you perform in and the world you cannot hide from. Most people go into that doorway carrying stress, shortage, and mental noise. They count what is missing. They replay what went wrong. They enter sleep in lack and wake up heavy. This practice reverses that pattern. It says, do not bring only fear to the threshold. Bring intention. Bring trust. Bring a sign of provision with you. Let the final act of the night be focused, not frantic. Let the last message you hand to your inner world be different from the one fear has been repeating all day. That is why the pillow matters. It is not magic fabric. It is proximity, near your head, near your final thoughts, near the place where the day closes and the deeper self keeps listening. Here is the part people need to hear clearly. This ritual does not demand that you pretend to feel rich when you do not. It does not ask you to fake confidence or force a smile over real pressure. It asks for something far more honest, a simple act, a direct act. You take 3 coins in your hand and you speak plainly. Not dramatically, not with panic, not begging in a way that breaks you down. You speak with steadiness. You say what you need. You say why you need it. You say where relief is needed in your life. Maybe it's rent. Maybe it's debt. Maybe it's open work, fresh opportunity, restored peace in your home, or enough margin to stop living in survival mode. But then comes the part that changes the tone of everything. Before placing the coins beneath your pillow, you decide who will be blessed when your season turns. You choose generosity before the proof arrives, even if it is small, even if all you can promise is that when provision opens, you will share. That matters because it moves the heart out of pure desperation and into circulation. It says, I do not only want to receive, I want to become part of the flow. And that is powerful, very powerful, because the mind of fear says, hold tighter, there's never enough. But the spirit of trust says, when it comes, I will not close around it. I will let it move through me. If this is reaching you, stay to the end. The final layer is what gives the whole practice its force. Then comes gratitude, and this is where many people lose the thread. They ask, how can I give thanks before anything changes? But that question is exactly why the practice matters. Gratitude here is not a reward after the blessing. It is the doorway before it. It shifts the position of the soul. A fearful heart stands outside the flow, scanning the future for proof that it is safe to relax. A grateful heart steps into a different posture. It says, I am still waiting. Yes, but I am not abandoned. I am still in process. Yes, but I'm not cut off. That one shift changes everything. So after you speak your need and after you name your coming generosity, you give thanks. Not long, not complicated, just true. Thank you for what has carried me so far. Thank you for the breath in my body. Thank you that I am still here. Thank you that what is delayed is not necessarily denied. Thank you that help can reach me in ways I do not yet see. These words matter because they interrupt the old script of shortage. They clean the inner space. They make room. And many people do not realize how deeply they have been telling themselves the same hidden story for years. Maybe abundance is for other people. Maybe I'm not one of those people life opens for. Maybe struggle is simply my lot. But that story is not wisdom. It is weariness speaking for too long. This practice pushes back against that voice. Gently but firmly, it says, no, I will not end this day in surrender to fear. I will end it in focused trust. There is another reason the number 3 matters, and if you understand this, the ritual becomes stronger. When something is done once, it can feel like a moment. Twice, it starts to look intentional. 3 times, it becomes a pattern, a new direction, a mark in your life. That is why this is not meant to be a one-night stunt done with half attention. The first night is a declaration. The second night is reinforcement. The third night is establishment. You are telling your inner world, this is not panic. This is practice. This is not me reaching once and falling back. This is me choosing a new posture. And the longer you continue with sincerity, the more the act stops feeling like performance and starts feeling like identity. You become the kind of person who closes the day with intention, the kind of person who expects movement, notices openings, and does not miss quiet changes because they arrived without fireworks. This is where many people fail. They watch only one door. They expect relief to come through one exact path. Then life shifts through another path and they call it coincidence because it did not look like what they planned. But help often enters sideways. A new contact, a delayed answer suddenly turning, an idea returning with force, a problem that loosens in an ordinary conversation, a chance you almost ignored. If your eyes are still trained only on disappointment, you will miss these movements. So the ritual is not only about calling abundance in, it is about training perception. That matters because once you begin to notice movement, your faith stops floating and starts rooting. Think about the nights you have gone to sleep carrying only pressure. You know that feeling. The body is tired, but the mind keeps pacing. You replay numbers. You revisit mistakes. You picture worst-case outcomes and call it planning, when really it is fear rehearsing itself again. Then morning comes, and nothing feels fresh because the night never became rest. This ritual interrupts that cycle with something physical, simple, and direct. You hold the coins. You slow your breathing. You say what needs to be said. You choose gratitude before evidence. You place the coins under the pillow with care, not drama. And in that small sequence, something inside begins to settle. Not because every problem is suddenly gone, but because you are no longer entering the night defeated. You are entering it aligned. That shift is not small. It may look small from the outside. 3 coins, a whispered prayer, a few moments before sleep, but inner turning points often look tiny when they begin. Seeds always do. And yes, let me say this clearly. This is not a replacement for wise action. You still work, you still plan, you still make calls, send messages, learn, save, build, and show up. But the spirit in which you do those things changes. You stop moving from only fear. You stop waking into only dread. You begin carrying a quiet expectation that something can open. And people underestimate what that does to their voice, their decisions, their timing, even the way they walk into a room. Do not brush this aside because it is simple. The deepest practices often are. Now let me take this further because what happens after the ritual matters just as much as the ritual itself. You do not place the coins under your pillow and then spend the next day demanding instant proof. That is not trust. That is pressure wearing a spiritual mask. The better posture is alert peace, watchful but not desperate, open but not forcing. You wake and begin the day with thanks again, even if nothing obvious has changed overnight. That morning gratitude keeps the channel from closing again. It tells your heart, I am still in the process. I am still receiving. I am still available to what is unfolding. And over time, this changes more than your mood. It changes your field of response. You become less likely to collapse at the first delay, less likely to call every pause a rejection, less likely to miss real opportunities because they arrived wearing ordinary clothes, because that is how movement often comes, quietly, naturally, through existing paths, through a timing you could not have arranged with all your worry. This is important, so hear it well. Delay is not always a no. Sometimes it is the space where capacity is being built. Sometimes the vessel is being widened before more can be poured in. Sometimes you're being prepared to handle what you have been asking for. That is not always easy to hear when pressure is real, but it can keep hope from rotting into bitterness. And once bitterness leaves, clarity returns. Then your actions sharpen, your choices improve, your energy changes, and all of that matters more than many people admit. Stay with me. The next part is the heart of it. The deepest part of this practice is not really the coins. It is the decision they represent. A decision to stop ending every day as a prisoner of fear. A decision to stop speaking only from lack. A decision to stop treating your inner life as if it has no effect on how you meet the world. Because whether people say it out loud or not, what they rehearse at night shapes what they notice by morning. If you rehearse defeat, you wake smaller. If you rehearse trust, you wake different, not careless, not naive, different, more open, more steady, more able to receive. And that steadiness matters when life begins to shift. Because if your heart is still trained only for disappointment, you can sabotage good things just by mistrusting them too quickly. So the ritual is also a form of preparation. It says, I am getting ready not only for money, but for the mindset, responsibility, and generosity that must come with it. I am becoming someone who can hold blessing without panic, without self-sabotage, without immediately shrinking back into old stories. That is why tonight's act is both humble and bold at the same time. Humble because it is small, bold because it declares a new pattern against everything fear has been saying. And if you need a retention line right here, here it is. Do not miss the final minutes of this message, because this last movement is the one people remember when life starts changing. It is one thing to ask for provision. It is another thing to practice receiving it before it arrives. That is what this does, quietly, deeply, repeatedly, and over time, that repetition leaves a mark. So tonight, when the room is quiet and the noise of the day has dropped away, find 3 coins. Any 3. Hold them in your hand for a moment longer than feels necessary. Let the weight register. Speak clearly. Say what you need. Say why it matters. Say who will be blessed when your season opens. Then give thanks, not after the proof, but before it. Give thanks that you are still here. Give thanks that movement can begin in places you cannot yet see. Give thanks that what seems delayed may still be on the way. Then place the coins gently beneath your pillow and say, in your own words, something like this. May these be a sign that provision is already moving toward me, that peace is already finding me, that what belongs to my life will not miss me. Then sleep, not perfectly, not pretending, but with a little more trust than yesterday. And when morning comes, rise with thanks again. Watch your day. Watch the small turns. Watch the conversations. Watch the doors you almost ignored. Watch what changes first inside you, because often that is where the outer change begins. And if this reached something real in you, hold on to it. Try the practice for 3 nights. Stay present, stay honest, stay open, because sometimes a life does not turn through one giant dramatic moment. Sometimes it turns through one quiet act repeated with faith until the heart, the mind, and the future begin to move together. And if you feel that, even a little, then you already know why this matters.